Hallo, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed ji, ayanu. Goedemorgen, Ishbata.
Pagkailangan ni ha, tunasyon washmale, ohai, gozaimasu, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, привет, kaifahal, haleshumachatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabiyab, balli karayan. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning. Alongside the very fantastic, stunning, amazing, the very well-learned Ms. Shiza Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. We hope and pray that everybody out there is ready to kickstart their day with us. Hello Shiza, how are you feeling on a very sunny morning over here in Islamabad?
I'm feeling great, thank you so much for asking, and you're always so kind with your words as well, which makes me reiterate upon one thing.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about it before, you know, in terms of compliments and how they sit so well with people. The brain works in such a way that, because you've told me this so many times, rather use the words, you know, learned or smart for that matter. So the brain works in such a way that now I'll make sure to do all my prep and do all my research whenever I'm seeing you next for the show.
Oh, really?
It's because of your compliments, right?
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for saying that. And, you know, I would certainly want you to reciprocate one day as well.
I mean, you are absolutely amazing. My most favorite co-anchor, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you very much. You know, it's wonderful and it feels great as well, ladies and gentlemen, where to, you know, when you coexist at a workplace. I think there's nothing else better than the feeling that everybody is happy with you and that everybody wants you to progress, and that too that you progress together, and that teamwork, ladies and gentlemen, does do a lot of magic for all of us as well. Hence,
Absolutely.
you know, over here we are for the last 9 years we have existed, alhamdulillah, and we have made sure that every single day when we get up, we contribute towards the development of Pakistan as well, and make sure that the right image is being portrayed. And that's what the image is, you know, two very learned people sitting right in front of you, and that too after a lot of preparation. And that's important. Research, ladies and gentlemen, is very important.
Yeah.
But Shiza, today I have a very different message for each and every one of you who are out there. And, you know, while I was reading it, you know, it actually just kind of stuck with my heart. And I was like, hey, you know what, I'm going to share it with our audiences out there as well. So imagine that if you let people's perception dictate your personality, you will never be able to learn. But if you're open to experiences, you will always learn and grow. And that was such an amazing thing to kind of think about, that, you know, how many times in life people do have their own perceptions about your personality. But God forbid, ladies and gentlemen, that they can be right, they can be wrong. But if you continuously start to depend on their perception, you know, you might not feel very good about it, and you might need to adjust your personality according to people's dictation of their perception. So please make sure that you're open to newer experiences and you will learn and grow. Do you have to say something about that?
Yeah, I really like this quote, and when you spoke about it, of course, I stand by all of it, which also makes me question you, in fact, about it. Do you believe in the first part of it, where you say that people's perception should not change your personality? While yes, it should not, but I think being only human, isn't it natural that, so for example, in a workspace, if you're continuously being nice to someone and you're continuously being misconstrued, does that mean you're going to stop being nice to them?
No, that does not certainly mean that you're going to not behave very nicely with people. But I think what it makes you feel is, or what you really need to do about it is, that you continue to be the person you are. You know, so if you're nice to people, you will continue to be nice to people. But rather, you won't be nice because of the fact that somebody expects you to be nice.
Right.
You know, so, you know, if you have this personality of being nice to people, you will always be nice, you know, irrespective of what anybody else would think. But if somebody is kind of taking or thinking this to themselves, that, hey, you know what, he or she is supposed to be nice to me, that's not happening. You know, if you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you too as well. You know, so you really need to have these personality traits inside you to make sure that you're going to progress as a human and you develop as a person as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
Wonderful.
this beautiful message.
I feel like Steve Harvey today.
I mean, you're definitely better, of course. But ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan is actually lately surrounded by good news. After 24 whole years, Australian team came down to Pakistan, yes, and we were really so excited about that. There are so many matches lined up as well between the Australian cricket team itself and the Pakistani cricket team. But talking about the updates, right now I think they're in practice as well.
Yes, exactly. So ladies and gentlemen, the practice is on. They're going to be 3 test matches, 3 one-day internationals. All one-day internationals will take place in Rawalpindi. But very quickly, I mean, let me give you this amazing good news. So after, just like Shiza mentioned, 24 long years, Australian cricket team is over here in Pakistan in Rawalpindi as of today. Pakistan and Australia cricket teams held practice session at Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium as first test match of the series will start on Friday. Both teams take part in batting, bowling and fielding drills at Pindi Stadium. Pakistani fast bowler Haris Rauf unfortunately test positive for COVID-19. He's been isolated. Iftikhar Ahmed and fast bowler Mohammad Wasim Jr. have been included in Pakistan test squad for the first match. The two have replaced Fahim Ashraf and Hassan Ali, who have been ruled out of the Rawalpindi test due to injuries. Fahim and Hassan are expected to regain full fitness before the second test that will be played in Karachi from March 12 till 16. But on the contrary, what I believe is that Hassan Ali has not been able to perform that very well.
Why?
That too from, if we kind of talk about the T20 World Cup till now, even in the PSL, he wasn't really able to get a lot of wickets. He wasn't really able to improve his economy rate as well. So I think that him being injured is a very different story, and him being not in the team is a very different story as well. So for all of those people who will be playing against Australia, best of luck. Congratulations, Pakistan Cricket Board. Congratulations, Mr. Ramiz Raja, for making sure that you're going to bring back international cricket with its full stature to the country.
And regardless of all the nefarious designs coming from different areas, of course, targeting Pakistan, targeting Pakistan's sovereignty and whatnot, I think we'll always rise above all of that.
Exactly.
And that's what we keep doing too.
Exactly. And in addition to that, imagine that all the tickets, ladies and gentlemen, are sold out for the first test match in between Pakistan and Australia, which is going to start from Friday, 4th of March. So please make sure, if you haven't gotten your tickets, well, you can get the tickets for the next test matches or the one-day internationals or the only T20 we will be playing against Australia.
Well, brilliant, definitely. Maybe I'll catch you in one of the test matches as well.
Yeah, you can. Why not?
But ladies and gentlemen, this is not all that is happening. A lot of things, a lot of good things definitely are happening to Pakistan. On the 3rd and 4th of this month, that is tomorrow and the day after tomorrow as well, the president of Uzbekistan is going to be visiting Pakistan, of course, on the invitation, or rather the call of our Premier Imran Khan Sahab. He will be accompanied by a high-level delegation comprising the foreign minister, other members of the cabinet, senior government officials, business and media personnel. The president of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, will be paying a state visit, as I mentioned. And during this visit, the Uzbek president will hold meetings with Pakistani leadership on the entire gamut of bilateral relations, including cooperation in political, trade and economic connectivity, education, culture, security, and defense, of course.
It's
they
wonderful.
will have a wide-ranging exchange of views on major regional and international issues. I absolutely love the fact that Imran Khan now is focusing on an independent foreign policy. He also sort of announced it as well, and I think it's the need of the hour. Definitely, Pakistan's foreign policy has been a topic of discussion and debate, or discourse rather, in a lot of education institutions as well, and now I think we're in the right track.
Exactly, and it will take us a little time to kind of see the results for the Prime Minister's visit to China and Russia as well. So I would want and urge all the Pakistani people out there to please kind of make sure that you kind of do not anticipate too much. Hold on for a second and you will see the results as well. Because we over here believe, not just because that I've worked for Pakistan Television, I've worked for a lot of different TV channels, I go meet a lot of different people, alhamdulillah, and I see that, alhamdulillah, that Pakistan is on the right track. Taking an example, so because what happens is, I think, Shiza, whenever we talk about problems, issues, and all of these things, the first things which matter to us are the social issues which we face every single day. May it be population, may it be illiteracy, may it be rape, may it be harassment, may it be acid throwing, may it be anything, and it comes from any other segment of the society to all other segments of the society as well. For example, may it be the rich, may it be the poor, may it be the middle class. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody faces social issues. And talking about social issues, I think what we need to do over here is that we need to understand that there's not one formula which is going to fit all. So everybody's got different requirements, and everybody needs to come together to make sure that they come up with solutions. And people who are going to come up with solutions are the people who face such social challenges by themselves.
Well, I totally understand where this is coming from. Let's talk about this in this segment, right? Because ever since this government came into being, we have been hearing, a welfare state. We have been hearing social development. And I think it's about time we realize now that the state in itself, or the government in itself, or the state institutions in itself are not enough alone to take Pakistan to the zenith of, success for that matter.
True.
It is each and every single individual out there who are going to change to collectively make a social change and contribute towards social development and fix all the menaces that you spoke about.
Exactly. Because, we're not experimenting in a chemical laboratory where, the external factors are not going to have an impact. And, or probably the external factors are going to have the same impact every single time. Or, in addition to that, we really need to kind of take a holistic approach, because all of this cannot take place in an isolated silo as well. So to talk about all of these social issues, challenges, and that too from childhood till adulthood, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've been joined by experts who have labeled us that पढ़ के आए हो, but today I think it's about time that we're going to learn more, so for whatever we could learn, we have learned that, and we'll make sure that we do justice with the topic as well. But these amazing people, they have dedicated their lives towards these very problems, and make sure that they have a better understanding and a better approach, so that we can be a better nation every single day, moving towards more prosperity. So without any further ado, we're very lucky that we've been actually joined by this amazing, young, charming, handsome guy who's over here in the studios with us. He happens to be the director for Rifa University at such a young age. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Dr. Rashid Aftab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Thanks for your compliment.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to see a director, and that too of a university who looks so young, vibrant, and budding. And to be very honest, when I went to university, my VC could barely walk, so I really want people like he to be out there and make sure that they kind of impart all of that knowledge which they have learned all of their lives as well. But not just that. Where I said that, there's no one formula fit all, so which is why we actually wanted a different perspective to Pakistan's social issues as well. So imagine what we've done is that we've invited somebody who happens to be an assistant professor at the University of Bradford, UK, and she happens to be Dr. Samina Kareem. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, I'm fine, thank you very much.
Wow, that's wonderful. Just prior to us going on here, ladies and gentlemen, we were doing mic check and the accent was very different, but now the Urdu came out surprisingly very different as well. A very warm welcome, thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you.
Sir, I think I'm going to begin the discussion.
Yeah, sure. Right.
And I hope you will be nice to me as well.
Always, sir.
By placing the questions.
Always.
Well, it's not more of a question answer session.
Yeah.
Never, Shahzad and I.
More of a social issue for us.
Absolutely. But sir, because you have been teaching and as well as been a part of public policy for so long, I think it's only pertinent that you begin with explaining what social development must include. Is it just making more money? What does it mean?
Primarily, when we talk about the social development, obviously, the social development comprises of two words, social and development. When we talk about the social, it means human interaction. Interactions of human beings, interaction of communities, interaction of societies, interaction of the institutions. And when we talk about the development means growth, it has to be changed. Whatever the present condition or the situation is, it has to be changed in a positive spectrum. So when we combine both of the words, it means the change in the human lives. That is a social development. And one important aspect is economic development cannot be achieved without the social development. And I think you have rightly
prepared
mentioned the one fit formula, which may be fit for all. Why that formula is, or the approach or the philosophy is not applicable to? Because we have to consider the social, political and economic perspective of the respective countries, not within the country, the respective regions or the provinces. So it's very hard to apply a single driven formula which has been given by the government or the social development experts. So unless until it is they evaluate or assess the ground realities in that spectrum. So one thing is, when interestingly, obviously we have to gauge the social development. And an excellent index which was developed by a Pakistani economist, Dr. Mahbubullah, was a Human Development Index. And later on that Human Development Index was adopted by United Nations, and now it is called the UN HDI. When we rank, similarly we rank the various countries.
So where do we rank in HDI, by the way? Just asking.
I'll let you know. So, similarly, when you rank corruption, that is the CPI given by the Transparency International. Similarly, the HDI is given by the Human Development. So, the Human Development Index comprises of the three aspects. One is the per capita income or you need the money for. Second is the education level related with the obviously literacy.
True.
And the third is the health aspect, mortality and the sort of. Pakistan's ranking is not so
Prominent.
It's not
Up on the
it is
table.
about I think it's about we rank the last year it's 154th rank out of 189 countries.
All right.
Which means there are serious challenges exist in our social fabric.
Exactly.
What does it mean? It means the state of affairs with respect to the education, with respect to the health, in context with the access to the basic services is about in Pakistan, for instance, about half of the population do not have access to the basic facilities like education, health, water, sanitation, employment. Like Pakistan's unemployment rate is about 5%. Similarly, literacy rate is 62%. 62%, it is the lowest literacy rate in the region. Mortality rate is about 22%. 22% people died out of. So this is something very alarming. What is required, I think, and I think you have rightly mentioned that the holistic approach is needed, and you have also mentioned one of the aspect that it is not a linear.
Yes.
It's a very technical word, the linearity or exponential or hyper. But what does it mean, the linearity? Linearity means if we go for intervention on the one aspect, we expect the other aspects to move proportionate to that aspect.
True.
It's not possible.
So it's not possible in the social fabric. So it's not enough that you are investing in only in the education sector, and you are not investing in the health sector.
True.
Because all these sectors are interrelated with each other. We have to undertake a holistic approach. We have to invest in the, for instance, I give you an example. On the investment side.
Sir, we would want to kind of continue with investment, but let's move on to Dr. Samina over here as well, because we want a different perspective as well. Now, obviously, with Qawmi Sehat Card, I think a lot of things are going to change in the realm of when we talk about healthcare as well. And with education, obviously, even in KPK, when PTI came over for the very first time, we did see a lot of revolutionary steps were taken to make sure that people start to come in, and even with the teachers. But now, Dr. Samina, I mean, when we talk about social development, obviously, we are the key players, people themselves or the population of the country, the key players, and it's because of the fact that, you coming from Bedford, UK over here, I've seen majority of the people in Bedford paying their taxes, which in result will always help them, may it be sanitation, clean drinking water, may it be road constructions and whatnot. As a nation, we, I think, are still getting on that track that where we kind of realize how we need to fulfill our responsibilities. So first, let's talk about that how do we empower our governments to make sure that they kind of treat all of those massive illnesses within the social developmental issues.
Empower our government, I
Yes.
really like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's critical that both structurally and socially we move together. So obviously the governments are responsible for developing things like legislation, for example, and setting up institutions, but actually to make them function, it's us as people. What I always say is institutions don't set themselves up.
True.
They are run and they are managed in the way that reflects who we are and our approach to things.
Exactly.
Right? In itself, a building is just a building.
True.
So that's the same with any piece of legislation. It is just a piece of legislation. Actually, how we enact it matters. And what I would say is that I've been very impressed by the focus of the current government on particular social issues. What we need to do is get mainstream society on board in terms of the implementation of certain practices.
And where you talk about particular social issues, which issues are those?
Yeah. So my specialisation is particularly in child protection.
Yes.
And I've got to say, over the last few years since the PTI government came into power, there's been an unprecedented focus and space has been created for us to talk about these things in a way that wasn't previously possible.
True.
So coming from the UK, where there's over a million Pakistanis who reside there, with issues, that we face, being very similar in some respects to what we face here in Pakistan. Actually, it's almost mirrored, but across the oceans. And for me, I think what we have now is a space to be able to talk about some really challenging things in a very open environment. And I think as a society, we're more able and prepared to do that with the support of the government. Wonderful. Creating that space.
Wonderful.
And we really like listening to what you said, of course. We're all here for change. We're all here for social development. But where you said that all the government can do is, make laws. We are, and sir, you will agree with me, we are overly legislated.
Yes.
Whenever something, God forbid, whenever something problematic happens, I think Pakistanis make sure to sort of raise a voice, and then a bill is passed or a law comes in place or something by the government actually comes in place to fix that issue. Now, just approving a law or making a law will solve things on paper. So if, God forbid, something happens to, you're a child protection expert as well, if children around me, God forbid, one of them is violated or exploited for some matter, what am I going to do? Am I going to show them a paper of the law? Bache, this is your right. Is this what I'm going to do? Socially, in terms of acceptance and whatnot, what practically do you think we can do?
I think there's a real need to change people's mentality around what we are and are not responsible for.
And isn't that the hardest part?
It is absolutely the hardest part. However, I think that messages like this need to reach the general population, and we've just got to keep reinforcing it. So we have our laws, but we need to implement them, and in between is society and our culture and some of the barriers that we face in implementation.
Right.
So for example, when we're talking about child protection, if somebody, if child was sexually abused, we have all sorts of concepts that stop us culturally from making sure that this is pursued in the way that it should be.
Exactly.
And what we need to do is set examples where that has been done and the law is being applied, and to make things accessible for people. So as Dr. Rashid was saying, everything is intertwined. So if you think about a case of child protection now, family do want to pursue that, there's a legal implications of that. Where do they go? Poverty, education, inequality, everything is intertwined. But that doesn't mean that we can't collectively make a difference, and I'm a big believer in that, and that is what brings me to Pakistan. I think the connection between the Pakistanis globally and within Pakistan is something that can really be honed and be used for something really positive in terms of even knowledge exchange, like we're doing right now, sharing of ideas and information, and really trying to sort of motivate people to think about what responsibility is, because too often we think that that's not our responsibility. In fact, social issues are everybody's responsibility.
Absolutely.
And safeguarding and protecting people from all vulnerable sectors and all vulnerable groups is everyone's responsibility.
And it's important, and where you actually spoke about children, I think I would kind of want to reiterate upon this as well, because I've been a part of NCOC as well, National Commission on the Rights of Child as well, where Ms. Afshan Tassim Bajwa has done quite a lot of wonderful work, bringing in ambassadors to raise awareness about that. But now, sir, let's talk about social change, and that too on a very individual and on a very family basis as well. Because when we talk about social development, I think it needs to come from a household in the first place. Imagine, so, within our own house, I think that we really need to get over this debate whether, a male gets paid more or a female gets paid more. Because for me, if somebody's working, I don't think that we need to label them male or female.
There's no gender.
Alhamdulillah, I have 5 sisters, all of them are working, alhamdulillah, wonderfully well. And our father has promoted us or kind of nurtured us or given us education in a way where he wanted us all to work and collaborate together. And we have seen a social change at our places, that now our daughters growing up, alhamdulillah, have no fear or whatsoever they want to do. Obviously, you really need to put a check which needs to be there for the protection of your child, rather than it being the other way around. So how do we do that in the first place? And then where you were talking about investments, I would want you to kind of continue with that, please, sir.
I may continue about her comment regarding the legislation.
Sure, sir.
And she's absolutely right. Pakistan is an over-legislative country. For instance, if we talk about the children, about more than 60 legislation instruments are there.
Yep.
But what about the ground realities? So on one aspect, we have so many instruments. One is law,
Yep.
other is policy, third is planning documents, fourth is strategies, fifth is programs and projects, but nothing is happening. I mean, it's still happening, but at the level of when we gauge the social development, it is not compatible with the other countries.
All right.
One issue is this, that in addition to Dr. Samina's comment that it's a collective responsibility and to create awareness and to do the advocacy or this.
And we're doing that every single day.
And that's what you are doing right now, even. So other issue, which is a very tangible issue, exists, is the institutional capacity to deliver their obligatory functions in accordance with their rules of business.
And majority of the institutions fail.
And
So-
very interesting thing you mentioned, rules of business. Please continue.
So this is very important because that is their mandatory functions, and at one level there is disconnect between the various tiers of the social change we want to bring about, and obviously it has to be. And secondly, it's not only the public institutions.
Yep.
The public institutions usually they operate in isolations. They don't take on board the private sector, the NGO sectors, the development sectors. So there is not a holistic approach to do it. Like there are so many welfare organizations like Salani and so many things. They are doing a tremendous job. But issue is this, that 1/3 of the population is still living below poverty line in
Yes.
Pakistan. And secondly, what you are talking about, to change to start the change from the family system, and that thinking has to be changed in terms of disparity or inequality even at
Or
the child
inclusion.
level.
Yes.
And give the equal opportunities, whether it's the male or the female, and that is how to change the thinking process of the father or the family, and ultimately to the society. So this has to be done. Secondly, which we are talking about, although the government has taken number of initiatives. Similarly, the present government, Sania Nishtar's work is amazing. She is doing amazing work. But we have to see the limitations of the government. What the fiscal space is available for the government to address the social issues. It's a very limited fiscal space after meeting the obligatory expenditure of defense and giving the IMF interest debt payments. So for the social sector, it's just about, it is less than 2% of
So
the
we need
GDP.
to pay more taxes, right?
We are investing less than 2% of the GDP in education and the health sector. So one aspect is obviously the disparity exists within the tax network, and the second is the tax to GDP ratio of this country is one of the lowest.
Yes.
It is, we are still revolving about 10% or something like that.
17%.
It's even less than 17%. It's not 17%.
Okay.
Realistic.
I mean, that's what
It
I'm
has
paying
to
for
be-
my salary.
It
but
has
yes.
to be. It has to be at least 25%.
Sir,
It has
देंगे
to be.
कैसे sir?
My heart just had an attack, but yes, go on.
These are the real. Unless until you don't have that fiscal space to invest in the. So I give you an example.
So we very short on
What
time,
is-
so if you can make it brief. and-
Last,
crispy, yes.
what is our asset? How to? I think our assets are the human capital.
True.
And the human capital, Pakistan is lucky. The demographic patterns reflects that about 50% of the population comprises of the young people.
Right.
And the recent the recent success stories of the various countries, if you go through those economies have developed due to the knowledge-based economy.
True.
The knowledge comes from the human capital. We have to but obviously, since our agriculture sector is compromised, initially when Pakistan came into it was a 50% contribution, now it is less than 17%. So we have to refocus on the and invest in the human capital. Just think about it, after 25 years or 30 years, all these disciplines in which our universities are operating will be obsolete.
And they are already getting obsolete.
They're obsolete. So we have to foresee those areas like genomics, artificial intelligence, data sciences,
yes.
things of doing on internet, cloud computing. These are the areas which we have to refocus our young asset, or which are the dividend of this society.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
sir. Thank you very much for saying that, and I'm glad that that a director of a university is saying so, which obviously will bring about a lot of change as well. But very quickly towards the end, I want a one-liner from you where you think that can be one solution for Pakistani population social development issues.
Wow.
I know it's difficult, but
That's
still,
a really
we're short on
difficult
time.
question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. What I would say is, yeah, small things matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
Do your small little part, and you know what, it contributes to the bigger picture. So
Mashallah.
Brilliant.
Well, wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very much for
much.
saying that. I think Dr. Rashid and Dr. Samina made absolute sense when they kind of spoke about how we really need to invest on our human capital as well, or human resource, and where she said that small things do matter. Please make sure that you focus on all of those small things and try to change them if you think that they're not right.
Absolutely, because in the end of the day, Shahzad, inequality breeds injustice, and that eventually educated residents, and that eventually criminals for that matter, and that's what we do not want. So on this note, I think it's getting so serious, to be honest, for early in the morning. We need to go out on a short break. I need to catch my
We're
breath.
talking about issues,
I
obviously
know,
it will get
of
serious.
course it will. So, well, let's see if we can continue this after
But we
a
do
short
have
break.
ambassadors of social change, ladies and gentlemen, and one of the ambassadors is going to be over here right after a short break, and people like Dr. Rashid or Dr. Samina or me, Shiza, and everybody else are the ambassadors of social change. So please make sure that you kind of think about yourself as the ambassador. So please make sure that you start to do all of those small things which Dr. Samina spoke about. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back, and we will have somebody who actually will have an impact when we talk about social issues, social development, or social change. Let's talk about that. Good morning.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
You are watching PTV World. You are watching PTV World.
Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. With me, I happen to have the very happening, the very amazing, the super learned and informative Shazad Khan, and I am Shaza Hashmi.
Wow, I'm on fire. Wow.
Well, Shazad, before we did go out on a short break, you said we are going to meet an agent of social change.
Exactly.
Who is this?
So, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, you know, where me and Shiza every single day when we come over here, we make sure that we contribute towards the society, we contribute towards social change, how we really need to think, and we can be wrong at times. We're not saying or we're not implementing that, you know, we're always right. And you know, that's how people learn, because, you know, they will always have that space where they can always improve. But imagine that people who are on television, people, you know, who actually probably vloggers, bloggers, and they have totally changed the image of the world as well, but they reach out to millions of people and make sure that they make sense whenever they talk about social change or social issues as well. So imagine we actually have been joined by one of those very amazing personalities who've actually performed over here in Pakistan almost on all the platforms. He's a singer, and you know, he's always made sure that he's going to come up with songs where they are going to be in relation with the social issues which are being highlighted via those lyrics as well, which we will be sharing in a while. But imagine that this gentleman back in 2014 hosted the Nobel Peace Prize, which we still would want to do as well. He's performed for Coke Studio, he's performed for Pepsi. You know, I'm sorry, I have to take all of these brands because the stature of this artist, ladies and gentlemen, is bigger than what we think. And not just that, I think his heart is bigger than his stature as well. We have a small clip to share with you guys. Go ahead, take a look. And once you guys will come back, we will be in conversation with this amazing soul. Let's do this today. Good morning. You know, that's the kind of that's how you highlight social issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've been joined all the way from Dallas to Pakistan once again. He is Mr. Junaid Youns. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam to Shazad and Shaza. Aapne khaya kya? What have you eaten? Give me some of that.
Whatever I can get for breakfast, I eat that as well. But Junaid, welcome to Pakistan, alhamdulillah. We've been in conversation for a longer period of time. We wanted to have you, and finally,
well, it's here. Luckily now, you know, now is the time, and you know, nothing better.
And it's wonderful. So first things first, you know, a lot of times when I think about people like you know, who stayed back in Pakistan, made sure that they're going to do a lot of work, and even though, you know, when you were, you know, making sure that Siege is going to reach out to different places as well, you did tell me that, hey, you know what, you're planning to move to US, and you know, you want to work over there, half of your family's over there as well and whatnot. But you know, you got love from this country and a lot of it, and you know, within the subcontinent. Why did you move outside the country?
Well, you know, I see it that way, that you know, God has created this world for all of us. Like, it's moving about here and there doesn't really you know, make any difference. So it's but you know, my heart is always over here, you know, with the country which my father, you know, I have served. My dad was in Air Force, so you know, so I've been there. I've seen it in the, from literally on the basis that, you know, every day he was fighting, and you know, he was working hard to secure our borders and everything. Then when my time came, I tried to secure the, you know, borders of the culture.
Global borders.
Yeah, exactly, to represent Pakistan globally. And I hope I did a good job.
And are you doing a good job? You know, let me ask you first, because you are an ambassador of social change yourself.
Absolutely, wow. Absolutely. Wherever I go, I try to represent Pakistan in a very positive manner. And you know, and globally, people have a lot of, you know, apprehensions about Pakistan whenever, because of the negative propaganda people have been doing for a lot of years. You know, especially our neighbor. You know, they've been doing a lot of propaganda regarding Pakistan's image. So wherever I go, I try to talk to people and, you know, try to, you know, solve their problems, whatever, you know, if they have any apprehensions about Pakistan's image, or
You're always there to answer.
You know, yeah, exactly. Whenever, and generally people have all those questions, you know, whenever I tell them, you know, I'm from Pakistan, I'm very proud Pakistani as well. So I mention that everywhere. So and people have a lot of questions, and I'm glad they do have questions, and you know I get to tell them how fabulous and how beautiful our country is.
True.
Well, that's
Thank
just
you very much.
That's definitely beautiful. But Junaid, you happen to have a lot of, mashallah, mashallah, a lot of feathers in your hat. But you must have a favorite. But you must have like a favorite part of Junaid that you love doing. Is it the singer, the actor? Is it the advocate of
Host.
social change? Is it the? I mean, there's just so many. Which one's your favorite?
Well, I would tell you honestly, you know, the social part of it, but you know, it keeps me going. You know, it motivates me, it charges me up, and you know, and whichever way I can contribute towards, you know, social change. I'm involved with a lot of charities here in Pakistan. These are different kind of charities. Like, well, I would like to mention a couple of them. One is called Duplex Smile again. You know, Musarat Misbah.
Yes.
You must have her here.
Love the
talk
cause.
About, yeah,
Absolutely.
the cause. They work for the all these acid burn victims, and get them reconstructive surgery, and you know it's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
And then another charity I'm working with nowadays very actively is called CDRS. They have different projects. Todd Shea, if you know him.
I'm working
yeah.
with CDRS as well.
Yeah.
You are too.
We have had
so
Todd
we've
Shea
just
over here.
we've just shot a song for them. I've made a
Wow.
song for them. Me, Fifu, Sarmad Ghafoor.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
I
Salman
composed.
himself?
Yeah,
Oh.
Salman. So he contributed towards the
Drumming part of it.
lyrics part of it. Actually, I composed it. Sarmad did the arrangement for the music, and I sang it. And actually, we're shooting for the video today.
Wow.
Wow, and that's
Super,
wonderful.
super.
And we want you to kind of rock the video as well. But I want to take you back in time when it was probably 2009. You know, where I started my career 2008 as a video jockey, and you know that was the time when Siege was popping up. Karachi Siege was popping up, Noman Javed was popping up, Falak Shabir was popping up, a lot of other bands were popping up.
Rosen.
But imagine that, but imagine that in these last 10 or 11 years, what we've seen is that the music has transformed a lot, and from what it used to be to what it has evolved now to be is something which is very different. So do you think that, you know, that kind of music will be experimented by you as well?
Well, somebody asked me this question yesterday. I was on, you know, your sister channel, PTV Home, and they asked me, what about this rap music?
Yeah, it's good.
I said,
you were doing it before as well.
People were doing it before too, but I've already had, you know, always had a, you know,
your apprehension from that.
Yes, I like to stay away from it. I have a theory about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I do have a theory about it.
What is it?
People who like to be a singer, they can't sing, but they're good writers.
So they
and they can rhyme.
Okay.
That's what rap is to me, at least, you know.
Right.
So I don't want to say more.
But I told, you know what?
No, but I have a question over here.
Well, you
I'm
can
sorry, but you
just
know,
a comment.
imagine that, you know, we've given Nasibulal the opportunity to rap, and she has done a wonderful job as well.
Where?
You know, we've heard that song for the last PSL as well.
Oh, okay.
You know, maybe any other person, maybe Faris Shafi, maybe any other person who's rapping. You're right, but Hassan Rahim for sure can sing, right? You know, and everybody has heard about that. Okay, you know, Shiza actually has something to say.
I do.
Good, because I do not want you to
Make me
cringe,
listen
but
to the
let's
guy
talk about
who can sing and rap as well. Singers can do rap, but I just choose not to do it. You know, I think I have much more to share rather than, you know, doing.
But that's
rap.
where the world is moving. That's where the world's going.
Well, you don't have to go there.
You
You
don't
know,
have
if
to
you're
be
not
commercial.
comfortable.
But you that, which is why I was taking you back to 2009, where you said it to me that, hey, you know what, most of the bands over here in Pakistan music industry do not succeed because they do not do the music which the masses want to listen to.
No,
The
masses still listen to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan.
I'm massive.
Still listen to Madam Noor Jahan. You know,
Alhamdulillah.
melody will never go out of the fashion.
Okay.
Let me tell you that.
All
You know,
right.
this is वो कहते हैं ना वक्ती तौर पे this is the fashion of the day, I suppose.
Exactly.
Right, and you know what, just not to, and I totally stand by your opinion, of course. I mean, everyone's entitled to it. But if we were to mention, of course, I mean, the quality of singing might be what you're saying as well.
Compromise.
But rap happens to be a very a very effective medium of talking about social issues.
Yeah, absolutely,
And I really stand by that. Of course, I mean, there are people who cannot sing, but there are people who have spent their youth, who've spent their lives writing about things that can actually change. And a lot of people are
listen to yourself. You're
Yeah.
saying they're writing about stuff. That's what I said in the
Yes,
beginning.
of course.
They are the philosophers, they are the writers. They're
but
not
not
the singers.
performers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now when
Yeah.
we actually have a singer over here in the studios, ladies and gentlemen, I think we cannot help but ask him to sing for all of us
Let's
as well.
do
So
this.
whatever, take it away, please, Mr. Junaid Yunus.
Whatever, what you want to hear?
Anything,
which was your
anything you
favorite?
think that you can sing the best, because we know that you,
I'm
whatever
just
you
an
sing
ordinary
is going
singer.
to be
I
amazing.
can't do
We'll
anything.
enjoy anything. you
But
do.
let's. I want. I just mentioned Nusrat ji,
Yep.
so I
Oh.
can sing something
Sure.
from him.
Of course.
Oh, as usual, singers would say, "Mera gala thoda sa kharab hai."
Early in the
say that
morning.
too.
Yes.
ओ तेरे बाजों ओ दिल दे अमेर मवे तेरे बाजों ओ साडा जूना केड़े कम दा ए साडा जूना केड़े कम दा ए ओ मेरी लूह लूह विच मेरी नस नस विच मेरी लूह लूह विच मेरी नस नस विच तेरी याद दा तुम्बा मजदा ए अखियां उड़ीकदियां दिल बाजा मारदा आजा परदेसिया वास्ताई प्यार दा आजा तैनू अखियां उड़ीकदियां सजना तैनू अखियां उड़ीकदियां जानिया तैनू अखियां उड़ीकदियां रावां तक तक थक गईयां मैं कलियां बह बह अक गईयां मैं एक एक पल गिन गिन के गुजारदा आजा परदेसिया वास्ताई प्यार दा आजा तैनू अखियां उड़ीकदियां सजना तैनू अखियां उड़ीकदियां जानिया तैनू अखियां उड़ीकदियां
Wow, wow, wow. The highs and the lows of Junaid Yunus, ladies and gentlemen. What a remarkable, wonderful singer he is. And whenever
But-
he sings, he always takes me back in time.
Yeah, definitely. And it must be so therapeutic and cathartic to have, first of all, a talent and then deliver it so well, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I would like to think that it should be therapeutic for the listener. Well, I like
But
it
as a
too.
performer as
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
right?
I personally do music because now I have a choice. In the beginning, I was exploring myself. I didn't know much. Now I have I have other businesses to take care of my financial needs and everything. So now I am more connected to my music because I'm not dependent on it financially. So now
And maybe
it's more
you-
connecting.
And maybe you're now true to it as well.
Maybe. Maybe you're right.
And thank
No,
you very much for
definitely.
highlighting this point. This is the most important point, which people half of the time do not understand, that you really need to be financially independent to make sure that you're true to yourself as well. So make sure that you do that.
Especially, a country like Pakistan, which doesn't have any, sort of business model to entertain musicians.
Artists.
Yes.
Yes.
Artists in general. But, we have only two things. Well, actually, one thing.
Okay.
If you want to be financially independent in Pakistan, being in showbiz, you just have to be an actor.
Really
For
though?
dramas.
Yeah.
Okay.
For dramas.
Well, I think we
Yeah.
have a difference of opinion over here, but we will talk about that some
Yeah.
other day because we're short on time. But very quickly, Junaid, obviously, so you're shooting for another song, which you did for a social cause today.
Yeah.
Which we obviously want to wish you best of luck. But what can your fans expect? Because your fans do miss you a lot at times. And I've seen your fan pages, they do wonderfully well as well. So what can they expect in the near future? And, while you are here, how many different cities are you going to go to? Are you performing somewhere? Can they expect such performances?
Well, I just came for this. I told you about this
video,
project.
yeah.
So what I had to do was Todd. I've spoken to him. I helped him out with the fundraiser in US a couple of months ago. So he asked me that be involved with the this charity of his. So I said I want to visit the projects first.
Wonderful.
So what I've been doing for in this trip of mine
Is
that
that you're
I
visiting.
visited all couple of projects
Wonderful.
in deep in Sindh, Registan, Umarkot and everything. So they're doing fantastic job. So but now I'm leaving tonight.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is it was a short
And when
trip.
can we expect you next?
This is the project is coming out very soon. It's called Masoom Aankhein.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. I hope everybody likes it, and a lot of new projects. I was just waiting for the COVID to get over with, then I'll do my mainstream music.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much, Junaid, for being with us. Thank you very much for taking out time from your busy schedule and gracing the occasion as well. It was wonderful to see you after a long time. मेरे भाई आप खुश रहें हमेशा जहाँ पे भी रहें सलामत रहें.
आप भी खुश रहें और आप भी खुश रहें.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And for everybody who's out there, आप भी खुश रहें. I think we should say it together as well. 1, 2, 3. आप भी खुश रहें. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well this morning.
on Twitter, Daily Motion, and YouTube.
All well this morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at
5 past midnight tonight.
So the next time, look out for yourselves. I'm on fire. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Good morning.